Yeah, good evening, everyone. So, slide please, sir. I welcome you all. In today's webinar. Today's webinar is on information sources. I am Madhu, working in a DAV public school, Gurugram, Haryana, having experience of 22 years, and I did masters in science, zoology, and library and information sciences, masters in library and information sciences, and 1 year apprenticeship training in the DRDO. So, and the resource person of the SNTTC. So, we will start this ice-breaking activity to kick off our session. This ice-breaking activity will be take a moment to think about a source you frequently use to gather information, right? You please write in the chat and what sources you use to gather the information. Frequently, you use the sources. The name of the sources. Sorry. You can write in the chat box, please. Pinky ma'am is saying magazine. Yes, ma'am, correct. Newspaper, Google, yes. Newspaper and social media, magazines. Yes. We use the different types of sources to get the information for different types of activities, to study, to research, for decision making, and for entertainment itself. So thank you for the participating in this activity. Move to the next slide. Yes. In this seminar, we come to understand what is information, what is the need of information, differentiate between sources and resources of information, characteristics of information sources, and identify documentary and non-documentary sources, and the various kinds of information sources we will understand in this session. So the next slide, what is information? Information gets generated in various ways and is recorded in variety of sources to give or to made available. This information is made available for the users for the use. So every user requires information for various activities, as I told: study, research, problem solving, decision making, and could be entertainment. So kinds of information required by the users are defined as current, background, statistical, or research type. So move to the next slide, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir. So the different how we can call the information? What kind of information we could say that it is a information? Information is the act of telling or imparting knowledge. Information is facts communicated or learned. Information is interpreting data to make it useful, right? We interpret the data to make it useful or valuable for the users or who needs the information. Information is knowledge acquired from others. What we like, we are moving from a street, or we are asking any uh, any address. So the human being could be the information giver. So information is all about facts and figures, and information is the power. So the information is useful if it is provided in a very organizational way. Yeah, next slide, sir. What is the need of information? Need of information is defining as a state or a process when one perceives that there is a gap between the information and the knowledge available to solve a problem and the actual solution of the problem, right? So while defining a user's information needs, we should ask, or the information professional should ask following questions from the user. How much information is needed? How much details is needed? How current the information should be? And should the information come from primary or secondary or other sources? So this asking the questions or inquired from the user, we can ask or we can understand the need of the information, what kind of need, what kind of information he requires, right? So this is the need for the information. Need, why we need the information. The information required by the users are defined as current, background, statistical, or research type, right? The information is relevant for a purpose, should be timely, accurate, complete, and the targeted to the right person. And one is, that is, what is this? It has to be communicated in time with right level of details, right? And is communicated by an appropriate channel that is understandable to the user. For this, sources of information are used to communicate information. Next slide, sir. So this is the information sources. Information sources, a source is a person, place, or thing from where we get the useful or valuable information. For example, like it could be the document, it could be the people, it could be the TV, mass media, internet, and institutions, right? The organizations, various organizations like the national and international organizations, research and development organizations, and any academic institutions, publishing houses, all these are the examples of this source. So this helps in research, answer questions, and explains the terms and gives broader or deeper knowledge. This documents, this sources helps in research and question answer, and they explain the terms in a very deeper way, in an organizational way. All the documents, all the information gathered in these, they are organizational or well interpreted. So what is the sources? Resources. Resources are something used to do a task or function, right? What we use to get the information, they are the resources for the user. For example, like tools, software, data, materials, right? These are the resources which helps the user to get the required information according to their need. Helps in using what they did. They helps in using or applying information and supports learning, research, or any activity. They help in their research work, any academic activity, any decision solving issue, any entertaining, or any other information which he required for his query or the solution problem. Yes, sir. Next, move to the next. Yes. What could be the characteristics of the information sources on the basis of this information available in them? It could be the factual, right? There are the facts, like 1 + 1 is always 2. So this is the fact. Nobody can deny this. So these are the facts available in the factual documents, like dictionaries, almanacs, atlases, directories. Analytical. Analytical is another created by the factual, and the examples, it could be the books, articles, and web pages. Next characteristics is objective or subjective. Examples for this objective is encyclopedia and handbooks, right? If you need any specific information, so you can you can search in the encyclopedia, dictionaries, and handbooks, etc. So subjective information, if you require, you will search in the books published on the basis of individual authors' experience, research, results of viewpoints. Subjective matter you can search in the books. Then we move the primary characteristics, and the examples for this primary characteristics would be the novels, autobiographies, government documents, etc. So these are the primary sources or the primary characteristics of the document. If it is novels, the autobiographies, government documents, etc. Secondary characteristics, books, biographies, review articles, etc. These comes from the primary section or the primary characteristics. The secondary characteristics develops from the primary characteristics. Next, sir. Next slide, please, sir. On the basis of this, the types of information sources would be the books, fiction and non-fiction, textbooks, reference books, biographies, newspapers, magazines, could be current events. Newspapers, what it contains? It contains the current events, opinions, anybody's opinions, experts' opinions, the news of the entertainment, and the trends going on in the industry, fashion industry, or anywhere. So these kinds of specific information we get from the newspapers and magazines. And books could be the fiction or non-fiction based on their characteristics. The textbook, reference books, and biographies comes under this category of books. Next slide, sir. Yes, journals and research papers, academic and peer-reviewed article for deeper study. When we search the journals or periodicals, if we are doing the research work, then we search the articles in the journals and the periodicals because they are the up to date and the recent and the current information they have in them in that. So the journals and research papers, academic and peer reviewed articles for the deeper study if we wish, or for our research work we move to this journals and periodicals. Online databases in the today's modern technologies, and the computer makes us very comfortable to fill the gap between the information and the user. So online databases, digital elections or articles, e-books, e-journals, encyclopedias, etc. would be searched on the online databases. Through the use of this computer, having the network, having the internet. So the fifth one is multimedia like DVDs, CDs, audiobooks, and the documentaries. These are the multimedias. Yes, sir. Next slide, sir. It's not visible, sir.
Hello,
So here
friends.
is a
Welcome to Library Facts. Today, we will talk about information sources. In just 2 minutes, you will learn what information sources are and their different types. So let's begin. Information sources are the means through which we acquire knowledge and information. There are mainly 3 types of information sources: primary sources, secondary sources, and tertiary sources. Primary sources. These are sources that provide original and first-hand information, such as research papers, interviews, and direct observations. Secondary sources. These analyze and interpret information that already exists, such as books, articles, and review papers. Tertiary sources. These summarize and present primary and secondary sources, such as encyclopedias, directories, and reference books. The correct use of these 3 types of information sources can help you obtain accurate and reliable information on any topic. So friends, this was our short video on information sources. If you found this information useful, please like the video, subscribe to Library Facts, and press the bell icon to stay updated with all our new videos. Thank you.
next slide, sir. In this video, we learned or understand the primary, secondary, and tertiary sources of the information. Here, move to the documentary sources. Documentary sources is divided into the primary, secondary, and tertiary sources of information. So all the recorded sources of information, irrespective of their context, irrespective of their contents and form, come under the documentary sources. All the printed items comes under this documentary sources. This may be published or unpublished, right? In print or in electronic form. Any written or printed material could be the documentary sources under this category, comes under this category. So this may be books, periodicals, magazines, or reference books and others. And the documentary sources of information such as books, periodicals, again, articles, dictionaries, newspapers, dissertations, guidebooks, of course, directories, etc., are organized into quite basic and fundamental categories based on their information contents. So depending upon their content and the organizational level, these can be grouped into primary, secondary, and tertiary sources of information. So, what is the primary sources? The primary sources are the primary sources are the original and the first-hand information. The historical newspapers, documentaries, and interviews, photos, letters, diaries, manuscripts, monographs, research, not monographs, sorry, research data, lab results, yeah, and our government records, legal documents are the primary sources, which are the original and the first-hand information that is not printed, that is typed or written. The next is secondary source of information. Secondary source of informations are the interpretation or the analysis of the primary sources. Secondary sources are the analysis and the interpretation of the secondary sources. These could be the textbooks, review articles, essays, biographies, academic journal articles, educational programs. This all could be the, all are the secondary sources which we search for the information according to our need. The tertiary sources are again the interpretation and analysis of the primary and the secondary sources. So the tertiary sources would be the next slide, sir. Tertiary sources are the summaries or indexes, right, which are created or interpreted from the secondary or primary sources. The encyclopedias, dictionaries, indexes, bibliographies, study guides, these are the directories or these are the tertiary sources. So these three categories comes under the documentary sources. Primary sources, secondary sources, and the tertiary sources are the documentary sources. Now comes to the non-documentary sources. Non-documentary sources are these are the sources, these are those sources and resources of the information that are not contained in any document, right? The non-documentary sources comprises of the formal and informal sources, right? So this could be anyone. This could be, right, research organizations, societies, the information, these sources, the formal sources include information of research organizations, societies, industries, government departments, universities, consultants, etc. And the informal sources could be the, yes, move to the next slide, sir, non-documentary sources. Yes, the non-documentary sources of information, it could be the sources or resources of the information that are not contained in any document, right? So formal sources include information of research organizations, the information produced from the research organizations, societies, industries, government ministries and departments, universities, consultants, right? These are the documents which are these are the informations from these formal sources of non-documentary sources. So informal sources includes human sources, conversation with colleagues, consultants, experts, resource persons, and mass media, etc. are the non-documentary sources. So the main categories of these non-documentary sources are institutions or organizations, right? So the organizations as source of information includes, again, academic institutions, government ministries, these ministries and departments, and this research and development organizations and societies, publishing houses, and the national and international organizations comes in this institutions or organizations. Humans are the experts, again, consultants, right? And the resource person, extension workers, and even the common human being could be the this non-documentary sources. Mass media. Mass media, of course, it is the internet, television, and radio, right? So the publication, these are the public communication that can reach a large audience, right? For example, like internet magazines and newspapers are also deemed to be the mass media. So the next is the internet. Internet is another very important source of this information. Internet is interactive digital media and is different from the traditional media, such as the print and television. World Wide Web, are called the web, is the collection of the websites of the internet, and it gives the information on the almost all the topics. Internet, you can find any information on the internet by connecting your computer, smartphones, and the any other medium which you have. So these are the two sources of information, the two categories, documentary and non-documentary sources. So digital information sources, again, it is, so this could be the online databases, ebooks, audiobooks, e-journals, library websites and portals, podcasts, webinars, and online lectures. AI tools and digital archives are all comes under this digital information sources. E-resources are magazines, encyclopedias, newspapers, journals, or articles published in them, right? This may be accessed on internet connected devices such as the computer, tablets, and the smartphones, the equipment you have for the connection. So these are the digital tools in this information age, in this modern technology. Yes, the library professionals, the human sources in this, the librarians and information professionals, experts, as this could be, yes, who guide users in navigating, selecting, and using sources correctly. They use the sources correctly because they are the librarian and the information professionals. Subject experts or guest speakers invited by the library, this they are also the human sources. Whosoever gives the information comes under this category, the human source. The common human being is also a information provider, right? So here is a video to reinforce our understanding about these types of
42
information.
lakhs per annum. Wow, 42 lakhs, that's your salary?
Yes.
And what do
Need to do any degree.
This is the Australian National University Library.
And this video is about understanding types of information sources. When you start to do research at university, whether as an undergraduate or a postgraduate, there are a lot of confusing terms that get thrown around, especially in relation to online resources. This is because a lot of the language that is used by libraries and publishers in relation to research and information is left over from when most resources were physical items on a shelf rather than online. This can make it hard to work out what type of source you are looking at, which makes it hard to reference it correctly. In this video, we will break down some of those terms so that it's clear exactly what we are talking about when it comes to research and resources. Think of the structure of most online resources as a family tree. So, let's start at the top and work our way down from there. The first level is the database level. A database is a collection of electronic information. In library terms, a database is a system managed by a company that collects scholarly information. Most databases will have a subject focus. For example, Medline is a medicine database, while Taylor and Francis is a database for social sciences. These databases collate online scholarly resources so that they are better organised for those looking for discipline-specific sources, which can include journals, edited books, and authored books. An academic journal is a periodic publication in which research articles written about a particular discipline are published. Back in the olden days, a journal was a physical printed book that contained a number of academic articles. When you went to a library, you would find these journals sitting on a shelf. While that is not the case so much anymore, the way we organize this information and the language we use to discuss them hasn't really changed. Nowadays, most journals are published primarily online and are hosted on databases. Once upon a time, these journals would be published as quarterly issues, similar to a magazine but academic in nature. Sometimes journal articles have a particular theme, like feminist film studies or malaria epidemiology. Sometimes they can be random. Libraries and researchers would subscribe to receive physical copies of these issues as they were published. When a year's or a few years' worth of issues had been published, they would be collected into a larger volume. So when you are referencing an academic article, you have probably seen something that looks like this: a journal title, and then a number in brackets, and another number beside it, like this. Those numbers are the issue number and the volume number. This is how you know it's a journal article. A book or book chapter will not have an issue number or a volume number in its citation. Journals are still organized into issues and volumes, even though they are rarely published into physical print copies anymore. Instead, a journal might look like this. It's important to understand that this is how journals are structured in case you are trying to find a particular article. If you have the issue and the journal number, you can navigate through the journal to locate the article. That is why it's so important to include the journal name, the issue, and the volume number in your citations as well. It will help someone who is trying to find that information to locate the correct article that you are referring to. But journals and journal articles are not the only sources that are collected in databases. Many databases also include ebooks. Now, we all know what a physical book is, and we've probably had some experience with ebooks as well. But in the academic publishing world, there are two types of book: an authored book and an edited book. An authored book is a book written about a topic that has been researched and written by the same person or sometimes two people, but rarely more than that. These researchers have done all the research and all the writing themselves, so the book is published under their names. The book is usually all on the same subject or theme. An edited book is a book in which each chapter has been written by someone different. They are all usually on the same subject area, but typically each chapter will have a slightly different focus. Each chapter will be a short essay or article by a different writer or writers. Then, an editor has collected those chapters and published them together in a book. The editor's name will usually be the one on the cover and be included in the citation list. It is important to be able to tell the difference between an authored book and an edited book because you will need to reference them differently. So, how do you tell the difference? Well, just like a hard copy book, ebooks have a cover page and then a page that contains the publication details. This is where you will find all the publishing information you need to cite the source, the name of the publisher, and when and where it was published. The front page of an edited book will say edited by and include the editor or editor's names, whereas an authored book will just say by and the author or author's names. Another way to check is to look at the chapter titles themselves. Is each chapter by a different person? Then it's definitely an edited book. Learning how to identify different types of online sources can be tricky at the start, but it's really important to understand so you both cite correctly and are able to quickly find information sources for your assignments. Unless you know what sort of source you are using, it is impossible to correctly reference them, and then you are likely to lose marks on your assignments. Remember, if in doubt, it is always best to check with your lecturer or supervisor. Looking for more resources on researching, writing, and using the library? We have an amazing collection of online materials and guides available through the ANU Library website, as well as workshops and videos.
Yeah, thank you, Sir Fleur, for playing the video. So, having this, going through this video, we have learned something and the kinds and the types of the documents in the library if you are researching a topic. So in this session, we have learned many things, the definition of the need of the information and the documentary and non-documentary sources. Documentary sources are again the three categories, divided into three categories: primary, secondary, and tertiary sources. And the non-documentary sources are the mass media, humans, experts, and institutions, and the internet, and all this, and the non-documentary sources. So the all recorded sources are the documentary sources, and the non-recorded sources are the non-documentary sources, right? So as we conclude today's session, I encourage you apply this knowledge in your academic and professional endeavors. If you have any question regarding this session, and your feedback most welcome, or any query, please.
We would also welcome your valuable feedback. So that would be really great if someone would come forward and give your feedback. Anyone? Okay. So we would like to appreciate all the participants for your participation, and also the resource person of the day, Mrs. Madhurati for her valuable presentation that she has brought forward with regard to information sources, especially from the perspective of a librarian. So that's really wonderful, ma'am, and we are very much proud to have you. I believe from SNTTC, you are the first librarian, who is, like turning out to be a wonderful resource person. And we are very happy to have a librarian as a resource person, like I always say. We're expecting much more, such webinars to be brought forward by you from the point of a library, how we can empower our libraries, especially as CBSE schools. Libraries play a very crucial role. So that's it, ma'am. Thank you so much. And dear participants, if you would wish to grab a certificate for this particular session, you need to pay 50 rupees to the following number: 9908925730. This is the number I have written in the chat box. You need to pay either by Google Pay or Phone Pay or Paytm. And then you need to send a screenshot of your payment to the same number. And by tomorrow morning, you will be receiving your certificate. So that's how it is. Hope everyone have had a good time listening to the valuable, what do we say, information shared by Madhuma. And let us all meet in the upcoming session. Thank you, one and all. Have a good night.
Yeah, good night, sir. Thank you so much, sir, and all the participants. Thank you.